Today we are going to discuss the 2016 ordinary level science paper, right? So I will take the first question likewise. See, first one they are asking which of the following is a vector quantity, right? So think what is a vector quantity? A vector quantity is something which have a magnitude and a direction, right? So if you take weight have a direction towards the gravitational acceleration direction, that means towards the earth, and then it also has a magnitude. So vector quantity should be weight. For the first one, answer is weight. If you see time, speed, and distance, those are scalar quantities, which means they have only a magnitude. It doesn't have a direction. And question number 2. See, according to standards of the binomial nomenclature, select an option which gives correctly the scientific name of the jungle fowl. Right? When you are writing the binomial nomenclature, you have 3 standards mainly. Right? First one is, we say that the first letter of the generic name should be capital, while all the other letters should be simple. Right? Then the second point is, if you are writing the scientific name, you have to underline it separately, or if you are printing it or if you're typing it, you have to type it in italic form. Right? Then the third point is, the two names are named as generic name and specific epithet. So first letter of the generic name is capitalized, while all the other letters, including the specific epithet, all the others should be simple. So according to the given standards, the answer should be third one. First one is capital, and see, both the names are in italic form, and then all the other letters are in simple. Question number 3. The gas which is used to produce margarine from vegetable oil. Normally, vegetable oil is a unsaturated oil, right? So to produce margarine from that, what do is we heat it using hydrogen, right? So what happens, that unsaturated fatty acid will become a saturated fatty acid. So to do that, we need hydrogen gas. So for question number 3, answer should be second one. Question number 4. Which of the following seeds is adapted for dispersal by wind? See, they have given rubber, apple, bitter gourd, and vara. Rubber means, there's a seed and it explodes by, or it is dispersed by explosive mechanisms, while apple and bitter gourd mainly dispersed by animals, right? And then there is vara, which is light and which can flow, which have wings, right? So it is dispersed by wind. So answer should be fourth one. First one is dispersed by explosive mechanisms. 2 and 3, that means apple and bitter gourd, is dispersed by animals. Question number 5. And what is the color of phenolphthalein in basic medium? Basic medium phenolphthalein color will be a pink color, right? Normally phenolphthalein is a colorless solution. So this colorless phenolphthalein, when you edit it into a basic medium, what happens, that colorless will turn into a pink color format, right? So for question number 5, answer should be pink color. That means second answer. But in this year, the marking scheme, they have also given correct for red color also, because light red is somewhat like pink in color. But pink color is the most suitable answer. Then question number 6. What is the acid that is used for coagulation of rubber latex? Right? For coagulation of rubber latex, we use CH3COOH. That means it is acidic acid, right? So when you are collecting rubber from a rubber tree, right, you are using that a coconut shell, and when you are collecting it, like let's say you are cutting the bark in the morning, and then you are collecting it in the evening, right? So what happens if you didn't add acetic acid? The rubber latex will be coagulated, right? So when you add acetic acid, the rubber latex won't be coagulated, so that you can obtain it in a liquid form. So for question number 6, answer is third. Then question number 7, see, which of the following is an amphoteric oxide? Right? Let's say sodium oxide. Sodium oxide. Sodium oxide, sodium is a metal, right? So we know metallic oxides will be basic, right? And non-metallic oxide will be acidic, right? So sodium oxide will be a strong base. And if you take fourth answer, that is Cl2O7, that will be strongly acidic, very strongly acidic, right? And if you take P2O5, that will be very less acidic. And if you take Al2O3, that will be a amphoteric oxide. So normally, aluminium oxide is amphoteric oxide, meaning it reacts both with acids and as well as bases. Question number 8. Which of the following can be used as a disinfectant? Right? Normally, we use chlorine as a disinfectant. Like brand names like Clorox, right? There's to disinfect water also we use chlorine, right? Chlorinated water here. So the one which is used as a disinfectant should be chlorine. Then question number 9. See the catalyst which is used in the manufacture of sulfuric acid by contact method. So for making sulfuric acid, the catalyst should be vanadium pentoxide. Catalyst is something which reduces the activation energy so that it can happen or the rate of reaction is increased. Right? So you can manufacture sulfuric acid in a speed way or in a very fast way using the catalyst vanadium pentoxide. So question number 9, answer should be fourth one. Then for question number 10, see monocotyledonous plants bear trimerous flowers. That is correct. Monocotyledonous plants, if you take features, that means they bear trimerous flowers. They have a fibrous root system. It doesn't show any secondary growth, right? You can see parallel venation in their leaves, right? So those are the features of monocotyledonous plant. But if you take other 3 answers, those are features of dicotyledonous plant. So question number 10 answer should be first one. Question number 11, in which of the following instances does a chemical change occur? Right? First, you have to know like how to identify a chemical change and a physical change. In a chemical change, normally almost all the chemical changes are irreversible. For an example, if I burn a paper, right, I can't like reverse it, right? Let's say I burn a wood. If I burn a wood, I will get ashes, right? Burnt ashes. But from burnt ashes, I can't make the wood again, right? So that will be a chemical change. So if you look at the answers here, first one, in vaporization of water. If you vaporize water, you can cool it, condense it, and you can bring it to water again. Right? Question number 3, answer number 3, in melting of wax. You can melt wax by providing a heat, and also if you cool it, you can get the wax again. Right? So in fourth answer, in melting mothballs, if you heat it, you can turn into a liquid form, and if you cool it, you can bring it to the solid form. So all these changes occur as a physical change, like solid to liquid, liquid to gases, right? So these are physical changes. But if you take answer number 2, in burning of firewood, after you have burned firewood, you can bring it to the firewood again. So second answer will be the chemical change which is occurring. Question number 12. See, who is the tertiary consumer in this food web? They have given a food web like this. See there, plant will be the producer here. Always a green color something. Like mostly we say green color plants are the producers. Right? From starting with the producer, we get rabbits. So rabbit will be the primary consumer. then python will be the secondary consumer, while hawk will be the tertiary consumer, right? So rabbits eat plants. The rabbit is eaten by python, then python is eaten by hawk. So plants will be the producer here. Rabbit will be the primary consumer. Python will be the secondary consumer, while hawk will be the tertiary consumer. So answer will be answer number 3. Question number 13. Select the options which gives type of a non-granular site and a type of granular site respectively. See there. Normally non-granular site, you can identify it like this. Non-granular sites are bigger, and also their name ends with site. That means monocyte, lymphocyte are the 2 examples for non-granular sites, while other 3, that means neutrophils, basophils, and eosinophils, will be the types of granular sites. So for this, you should find the answer with a non-granular site and a granular site. So first answer and second answer will be cut off, will be omitted off, because they both start with a granular sites. If you see answer question number 3 and 4, lymphocyte is a non-granular site, monocyte is also non-granular site, right? Then you should find a granular site, right? So here the granular site is basophil. So answer should be the 4th answer. In question number 3, they have given both are non-granular sites, so you can't take that as the answer. So for question number 13, answer should be 4th answer. Question number 14. See the number of lone pairs around oxygen atom in H2O molecule, right? Let's see how to draw an oxygen molecule. Oxygen is in the 6th group, so their valence is 2, right? So hydrogen's valence is 1, so it will form one bond with one hydrogen and another bond with the other hydrogen, right? To form a bond, oxygen gives 1 electron. I will mark it as a dot here, right? I will mark this hydrogen's electron as a cross here. Normally, when you are drawing a Lewis structure, you are not drawing like this, right? You are drawing just a piece of line. For your explanation, I am drawing this dot and a cross. So oxygen is in the 6th group, so it has 6 valence electrons. That means 6 outermost electrons. In those 6 electrons, 2 are given to form a bond. So ultimately, there will be 4 electrons remaining as lone electrons. So they are asking the number of lone pairs. Pairs means a pair contains 2 electrons. So here it is a 1 pair, and here it's another pair. So altogether there are 2 pairs in water molecule. So answer should be first one, that is 2. 15th, see, on a certain day in Noor Ali town, the daytime temperature was 16 degrees Celsius and the nighttime temperature was 4 degrees Celsius. What is the temperature difference between day and night in Noor Ali town on that day in Kelvin? Right? A special point for you all. Normally, if you take Celsius difference, that will be equal to Kelvin difference, because to convert some Celsius into Kelvin, we just add 273, right? So if you had 16 and if you had 273 for this, right? And if you subtract 4, that is in Celsius, if you convert this also into Kelvin form, you add in again 273, right? So when you simplify these brackets, this will be negative 273, right? So what will happen ultimately is this 273 will be cancelled off, right? So this part will be cancelled off to this part. So 16 minus 4, answer will be 12 Kelvin. So Celsius difference and the Kelvin difference will be equal. So that's a special point. Note down. So 15, answer will be first one. Then question number 16. Say, what is the number of double bonds in an isoprene molecule? Right? Here you can see an isoprene molecule. See, there are two double bonds in between first carbon and second carbon, and in third carbon and fourth carbon also there is a double bond. So altogether there are two double bonds in isoprene molecule. So for question number 16, answer should be second one. Right. Question number 17. Kamal works in a glass factory for a long period of time. In a medical test, it was revealed that his lungs tissues are getting deteriorated gradually. Accordingly, which disease is Kamal suffering from? Normally, a worker who is working in a glass factory is most likely to be suffering from silicosis, right? That's because those dust particles, those glasses particles, very small, tiny glass particles can affect the lungs, and it will cause the deterioration of the lungs gradually, so that he or she will get silicosis. Question number 18. In the asexual reproduction, they're asking a large number of offspring is produced in a short period of time. That is correct. That's a feature of asexual reproduction. If I discuss second and third answers, meiosis, that's in sexual reproduction. Gametes formation are also in sexual reproduction, because when gamete mother cells undergo meiosis, it will form gametes. Right? So answers number 2 and 3 should be for sexual reproduction. Let's say for fourth answer, new species with better adaptation to environment are produced. In significance of meiosis, we say that meiosis is mainly significant in evolution. Right? So what is evolution? That is like forming new species with better adaptation to the environment. So these three will be for sexual reproduction, and the first one will be for asexual reproduction. So answer is first one. Then question number 19. See, the focal length of a mirror is 30 centimeters, right? We don't know whether it is a concave mirror, a convex mirror, or a plane mirror. We don't know. But if they have given a focal length, that should be a curved mirror, right? Because plane mirrors don't have a focal length, right? Then let's see, when an object is kept on the principal axis of this mirror, the image formed by the mirror is real, and its size is equal to the size of object. Right? Check this point. Point is special. Image formed by the mirror is real, and the size is equal to the size of object. And that's the point you can get this from this question. That means if you have an object which is equal to the image size, right? And if it is real, that means that should be kept at 2f in a concave mirror, right? Or in a convex lens. So 2f, if you keep an object at a 2f distance from a convex lens or a concave mirror, you can obtain an image which is equal in size to that of the object. So here the focal length is 30 centimeters. So if you are calculating 2f, that is 2 into 30, that will be automatically 60 centimeters. 2 into 30, that will be 60 centimeters. So answer is second one for question number 19. Then let's move on to question number 20. Again, a diagram of a muscle tissue is given below, right? And they are asking what is the muscle tissue and the function of it, right? So as you can see it here, these muscles are branched, right? So the only branched muscle cell will be cardiac muscles, right? So in cardiac muscles involuntary occurs. We don't have a control over it. So the answer should be fourth answer. Cardiac muscles, and it is involuntary control. Right? So answer is fourth answer. And they ask you, what is the pressure exerted by water at a point located 2 meters vertically below the water level in a lake? And they have given some points, densities, and acceleration due to gravity. So you can find it like this. I take the whiteboard here. See, you can apply it, pressure is equal to H rho G, right? And then you can find the answer. They have given like this, pressure at a point 2 meters below the water level, right? And then they have given density is 1000 and G is 10. So here I will find P is equal to H, that should be 2 times rho is 1000 multiplied by G, that is acceleration due to gravity, that is 10, right? So 2 into 1000 is 2000, 2000 into 10, the answer will be 20,000 Nm minus 2. So you get the answer as Nm minus 2, that means Newton per square meters, Nm minus 2, right? Then we'll move on to the next question. Question number, so for question number 21, should be fourth one. In question number 22, Amali's skin is dry and blisters have appeared on her knee and elbows. And furthermore, little spots are in her eyes, right? So if you see something like related to eyes, that means it should be mainly from vitamin A, right? If you see something from vitamin B, that is mainly from skin diseases, right? Deficiency symptoms will be skin diseases, rashes, and blisters forming on skin. And if you see vitamin C, the deficiency symptom mainly with regarding these gums. If you have gum bleeding, that means that is a vitamin C deficiency. For vitamin D, that will be mainly associated with the bone system, right? Like you can get osteomalacia, osteoporosis. Likewise, vitamin D is associated with bones. If you take vitamin E, you can have premature births, right? Hair is dropping. Deficiency in cell divisions mainly occurs from vitamin E. And if you take vitamin K, it is mainly regarding blood clotting, right? So for initiating blood clotting, you need vitamin K mainly. So for this question number 22, little spot from eyes, so that should be mainly from vitamin A. Answer is first one. Question number 23. See, which of the following statement is false regarding photosynthesis? Right? Photosynthesis can be done artificially. That is wrong. If you can do photosynthesis artificially, you don't need any trees in this world, right? So you can't do photosynthesis artificially. That means you can't produce food artificially, right? So you need plants to do this. So first one will be the false statement. If I see into question answer number 2 and 3, 4, see, solar energy is converted into chemical energy during photosynthesis. That is correct. Plants obtain energy from sunlight, so that is solar energy, then it is converted into chemical energy, which is stored in mainly organic compounds. Third answer, see, oxygen gas is produced by a byproduct of photosynthesis. That is correct, right? Main product is the organic compound. We say that glucose is the main organic compound which is formed, and oxygen that is formed will be a byproduct of photosynthesis. Fourth answer, glucose produced in photosynthesis temporarily stored in plant leaves as starch. That's also correct, right? Glucose is temporarily stored as starch, and when it is transporting, or when it is translocating through the phloem tissue, it is translocated as sucrose solution. So it is stored as starch, it is translocated as sucrose, but it is produced as glucose. So for question number 23, answer should be first one. Question number 24. See, a diagram of a longitudinal section of a bisexual flower is given below. Select the option which gives two parts belonging to gynoecium and androecium separately. Right? Gynoecium means female part of the flower, and androecium means male part of the flower. Right? Gynoecium consists of three parts, that is stigma, style, and ovary. Right? If you take androecium, it consists of two parts mainly, and then filament. Right? So here, if I mark those with my arrow, with my pencil, A will be, or the structure which is in the middle will be the gynosium, right? So A will be ultimately stigma, right? E will be the style, which is this tubular part, and D will be the ovaries. D is mainly, it is pointed out into ovules, right? Or ovules are present within the ovary. So you can label it like this. Ovaries here, D is ovules. If you take C, C will be the anther, right? And filament will be the B, part B. So you have to check whether what is gynosium and what is androsium respectively. So gynosium means it should be either A, E or D. So if you select the answers A, E or D, first answer or second answer. So answer number 2 and answer number 4 can be eliminated. From that, see A and C. C is something with the androsium, right? So the part of the androsium, that is anther. So first one will be the answer. If you see answer number 3, that is A and E both belongs to gynosium. So that will be wrong. So this is what you call a method of elimination. You can eliminate the answers and then you can get the correct answer. 24, answer is first one. Let's see question number 25. As shown in the figure A, the glass Q stick inside the glass P, right? Which of the following strategy is suitable to separate the two glasses easily? So in this instance, we use hot water and cold water. That means we mainly use expansivity here, right? When hot water is applied, that applied hot water part will be expanded, right? So for this, if you take 2 cups, right? Let's say my hand is Q and this hand is P, right? First, you have to expand this outer cup, that means P, right? So to expand P, what you should do is, you should contact it with the hot water. So P should be contacted with hot water. So answer number 3 and 4 will be eliminated because it is contacted with cold water. So these two are wrong. So out of this, let's say, if you apply hot water to Q, what will happen? Q will also be expanded. So P will also be expanded, Q will also be expanded. That will be still stick inside. Q will be stick inside the glass P still, right? So to contract Q, what you should do is you should apply cold water. So if you apply cold water, this glass will be shrinked slightly. And if you apply cold water to P, the glass will be expanded so that you can easily take out the glass Q from glass P. So answer should be second answer. Right? Question number 26. Consider the following statements made by a student. A, cinnamon oil can be extracted from cinnamon leaves by steam distillation. That is correct. We talk about under steam distillation. Then B, petrol can be obtained from crude oil using fractional distillation. So if you take fractional distillation of crude oil, can get you petrol, diesel, Inca oil, kerosene oil. Likewise, you can get so much of products from that. Or fractional distillation of liquefied air done to obtain nitrogen, carbon dioxide, oxygen like gases. Then C, statement C, distilled water can be obtained from well water by using simple distillation. But you can remember simple distillation, we use a Liebig condenser and then we use some beakers and then you can get distilled water. We discuss it under simple distillation, right? So statements, if you consider all the 3 statements, those 3 statements are correct. So answer should be fourth one, that is all ABC are true. So 26 answer is fourth one. And let's move on to question number 27. In that they're asking, what is the neutralization reaction? To be a neutralization reaction, it should be a reaction occurring between acid and a base, and it should form salt plus water. Right? So if you consider the first answer, see calcium oxide. Calcium oxide is a somewhat basic solid, right? Basic solid. So if you contact it with water, that will be a basic solution. So calcium hydroxide is a basic solution. It is not a salt. It's wrong. Second answer, ferrous sulfide plus sodium hydroxide will give you ferric hydroxide plus sodium sulfide. This is an example for double displacement reaction. So this doesn't form any salt. Salt is sodium sulfate, but it doesn't form any water. And also, if you see the reactants are not acid and base. Ferrous sulfate is a salt. Right? So if you see third answer, that is sodium hydroxide, which is a base, is an acid. HCl is an acid. So it will form salt and water. Salt will be the sodium chloride. So third one should be the correct answer. If you see question number 4, calcium chloride is a salt, sodium carbonate is a salt. So here also, this is an example for double displacement reaction. So these two are double displacement reactions, which is forming basic solution. So ultimately, answer will be third answer for question number 27. Question number 28, the chemical formula for carbonate of an element M is M2CO3. And they ask, what is the chemical formula of the chloride of M? M2CO3. Right? If I separate these compounds into two as M and CO3, right? See, M will get valency 1 and CO3 will get valency 2. Right? When you are writing a chemical formula, what do you do is you just exchange the valence so that M will get 2 and CO3 will get 1. So M has the valency 1. Then check it with chlorine, M and Cl. Cl is in the 7th group, so valence will be 8 minus 7, or 8 minus the group number, that is valency 1. M also has valency 1, we found out that. So if you exchange the valencies, you will get MCl. So answer should be first answer, right? Then 29th, they're asking what is the number of oxygen atoms in 22 grams of carbon dioxide gas, right? I'll take the whiteboard for this. 22 grams of carbon dioxide, and they're asking the number of oxygen atoms. How many oxygen atoms are present? Right. See, if you take carbon dioxide, right? Carbon has molar mass is 12 grams per mole, and oxygen it is 16, right? So if you take the molar mass of carbon dioxide molar mass will be 12 plus 16 plus 16, that is altogether 44 grams per mole, right? So if you take 1 mole, that should be 44 grams of carbon dioxide. So for 22 grams of carbon dioxide, that will be half moles, right? For 44 grams, that is 1 mole, right? If you take 22 grams, that will be 0.5 moles, or we say it as half moles, right? So 1 mole consists of Avogadro number of atoms. So half moles will contain half the number of Avogadro atoms. That means 6.022 into 10 to the power 23. So I told you that this is the number of carbon dioxide molecules, right? We found out 44 grams as the molar mass of carbon dioxide. So 1 mole of carbon dioxide will have 6.022 into 10 to the power 23 molecules. If you take 22 grams, that will be half into 6.022 into 10 to the power 23. Right? If you take 1 carbon dioxide molecule, if I take carbon dioxide molecule here, that is C double O here, double O here. Right? You can see 1 carbon dioxide molecule contains 2 oxygen atoms. Right? 1 carbon molecule contains 2 oxygen atoms. That means this much of carbon number contains twice the oxygen number. So if you simplify it, you can get half, and these two will be cancelled. So answer should be 6.022 into 10 to the power 23 atoms of oxygen, right? If you ask to find the molecule number of molecules of carbon, that will be half into 6.022. That means 3.011 into 10 to the power 23. But here they are asking the oxygen atom, so answer should be 6.022 into 10 to the power 23. Right? So the answer will be the second answer. Question number 30. Three properties of a particular element are given below. Occurs in crystalline form as well as in amorphous form, right? So mainly nonmetals like carbon and sulfur occurs in both the forms. So you can eliminate first answer and second answer. Insoluble in water but very soluble in CS2 solvent, carbon disulfide solvent. That should be mainly sulfur, because sulfur is very soluble in carbon disulfide solvent, CS2 solvent. We'll see the next one also. Burns with a blue color flame. Right. Sulfur burns with a blue color flame. So answer should be sulfur. Right. If you take sodium like metal, that will have a yellow color in the flame test. Right. So answer will be fourth answer. Question number 31. Okay. Limiting frictional force between two objects with rough surfaces in contact depends on. Right. I will say like this. Friction, that means friction of three types: static friction, limiting friction, and dynamic friction. When you take these three, limiting frictional force depends only on two factors. Those two factors are nature of the contact surface and the normal reaction. Right? Nature of the contact surface and the normal reaction. When the normal reaction increases, that means, let's say, this is the normal reaction happening. If you can increase this R, you can increase the limiting friction. And also, if you have a rough surface in contact, that will also be a factor with effect on limiting frictional force. More the roughness, more the limiting frictional force. If it is smooth, limiting frictional force will be less. So answer should be here, second answer. The 31st, second answer. And 32, gravitational acceleration on the moon is 1/6 that of the Earth. If the gravitational acceleration on the Earth is 10 ms minus 2, what would be the weight of an astronaut of mass 60 kilogram on mole? In this question, first you have to find the mass of the man on Earth, right? So weight is found by multiplying mass into gravitational acceleration, right? So let's say I will say WE means weight of the astronomer on Earth. So mass is 60 kilograms into gravitational acceleration is 10. That will be 600 newtons. But they're asking the weight on moon. So I say I'll take as WM. Weight on moon will be 1/6 is that of Earth. That means 600 into 1/6. Right? So 6 will be simplified. You get the answer as 100 newtons. So the answer should be 100 newtons. So the answer is third one. Question number 3. The mole fraction of sodium hydroxide in a solution formed when 2 moles of sodium hydroxide and 10 moles of water is formed. So how to find a mole fraction? Mole fraction of a certain compound over total moles. Mole fraction can be found by the number of moles of the certain compound over the total number of moles. So here they're asking mole fraction of sodium. So you have to put number of moles of sodium on top and total moles on the bottom. So 2 plus 10, altogether you will get 2/12. You don't have an answer as 2/12, but if you simplify this, you will get 1/6. So answer should be the second answer. Let's move on to 34. Right? Then they say that which of the following statement is false regarding the electrochemical cell given in the figure? They have given an electrochemical cell. You have iron strip, copper strip, and diode acid. Right? First of all, in the electrochemical cell, what you should do is you should find what is the most reactive element out of the given one, right? So if you take iron and copper in the reactivity series, iron is on the top and copper is on the bottom, right? So Fe, which is on top, has a high reactivity, so it will always liberate electrons. If it liberate electrons, iron will be the anode here, right? So ultimately, copper will be the cathode. Right? Then let's say, with the answers, iron strip act as the anode. That is correct. We found out that. Second one, a reduction reaction occurs at the copper strip. That's also correct. Anode oxidation occurs. In cathode, always reduction occurs. Even in electrolysis, that is same. Right? Anode oxidation, cathode and reduction. That's also correct. Then third one, gas bubbles evolve rapidly at iron strip. That is wrong. At iron strip, anodic reaction, that means oxidation occurs. That means Fe will form Fe2 plus ions releasing electrons. That doesn't form any gas. But near the copper strip, dilute H plus, that means the acid, it will gain electrons to form hydrogen gas. So gas bubbles will be evolved at the copper strip, not the iron strip. So third one will be the false statement. If I check into fourth answer, electrons flow towards the copper strip across the electron wire. So across the external wire. So that will be correct because iron forms electrons. So electron density in iron strip is very high. What happens? It moves through this across the external wire into the copper strips. So electron movement is from iron strip to copper strip. If you ask to find current direction, that will be the opposite direction. That is from copper to iron through the external wire. Let's move on to question number 35. There you have, they have given a circuit and they are asking the current produced by the cell. First of all, when you have two or more resistance, what you should do is you have to find the equivalent resistance, right? So when you are finding the equivalent resistance, you have a normal method, that is, if the resistance are parallel, you use 1 over R equivalent is equal to 1 over R1 plus 1 over R2. You can use this equation to get the answer, right? So 1 over 18 plus 1 over 18, you will get the answer as 9 ohms. Right? Or else you can have a simple short method, that is, let's say if you have two equal resistors with equal magnitude, that means here 18 ohm, 18 ohm. So R equivalent can be easily found out by like this, that is 18 value of one resistor divided by the number of resistors, that is 18 divided by 2, that will be 9 ohms. But make sure this is only valid when the magnitude of the resistance are equal, otherwise it is wrong, right? If you have 18 and 20, you can't find it like this. So you have to practice this method also. If the resistance are different, apply this equation. If the resistance are equal, divide it by the number of resistors you have. So you get 9 ohms here. After that, they're asking current. So write V equals to IR, then substitute to it. Voltage they have given as 6. I we don't know. R will be 9 ohms. So this will be I is equal to 6 divided by 9. 6 divided by 9, if you simplify it, you will get 2 over 3 amperes. So answer is second answer. Then 36, they are asking, due to the current flow through the straight conducting part SP, right? So current always moves from positive direction to negative direction like this. Here, this branch, what will happen? This part. At this junction, current divides equally into two because 18 ohm equal resistance, and then it will be corrected again and moved into negative terminal. So they are asking, select the option which indicates correct direction of the magnetic field. So to find the direction of the magnetic field, we use Maxwell's Coke-Crookes principle. Right? That is, if thumb indicates the current, the other 4 fingers will indicate the direction of the magnetic field. Right? So here the current is moving from S to P. So set the answers which moves current from S to P. So second answer, that is wrong. Third answer also, that is wrong. So you get first one and the fourth one answer. That's the answer. And see, S to P, that means downwards. Downward direction means that should be clockwise acting. The magnetic field should be clockwise. That answer will be the fourth answer. Fourth answer. Because here the arrows are marked as clockwise. So first one will be wrong. Fourth answer. Fourth one is the answer. Then question number 37. See there, consider an object which kept at a smooth horizontal surface. Then two horizontal forces 15 Newton and X Newton are acting on A. And they are asking what will be the force X if the resultant is 10 Newtons towards the X direction. That means it is moving towards the X direction, right? If it is moving towards the X direction, the value of X should be larger than 15 Newton, right? If X is pushing, it should have a larger magnitude than 15. And they say that the resultant is 15. So how to find the resultant? If the reactions are opposite, resultant is found by subtracting or getting the difference. So X minus 15 will have 10 Newtons. So ultimately, X will be 15 plus 10, that is 25 Newtons. So answer is answer number 2. Then question number 38. See, consider the following data relevant to the motion of a child in a straight line path from a certain point. You have given time and displacement, right? Then see, so they are asking the false statement. Let's read the first answer. The child has moved at a uniform velocity for first 3 seconds. That is correct. 2, 4, 6. See, displacement increases 2 by 2. That's a uniform velocity. Then second answer, the total time that the child has remained at rest is 5 seconds. If the child has remained rest, the displacement should not be changed, right? So if you see this from third to fifth second, right? The child has rest for 2 seconds. And if you see this part, 8, 8, that means the child has rest for 1 second. So altogether, that is 3 seconds. So child has been remained at rest for 3 seconds, not 5 seconds. So that will be the false statement here. If I check for third answer, the child has returned to starting point. How to find that? See, at the start, displacement is 0. At the final point also, displacement is 0. So the child has returned to starting point. If this is 2, 2, that's also correct, right? Then fourth one, the total distance that the child has moved is 16 meters. See, 0, 2, 4, 6, 8. So starting from 0 point, the child has moved 8 meters. And then he has come back another 8 meters. So altogether 8 plus 8, that will be 16 meters. So 38, fourth answer is correct. Fourth statement is second answer. Let's move on to 39. A figure of an arrangement to demonstrate the electromagnetic induction is given here. In which of the following instances the galvanometer does not indicate a deflection, right? So in an electromagnetic induction, right, current is produced, or the galvanometer shows a deflection when there is a relative movement between magnet and the coil, right? If there isn't any relative movement in between those two, there will not be any current flowing through the galvanometer. That means there will not be any current induced in the circuit, right? So select the answer which do not have a relative movement. So first one, if you take, it is when moving the magnetic towards the coil while keeping the coil stationary. That is correct. That's a relative movement. Second answer, when keeping both the magnet and the coil stationary. That is wrong. Yeah. If you keep magnet and the coil stationarily, there will be no any relative movement. That means current doesn't form, current doesn't induced. So answer should be the second one. If you consider the other two answers also, that will also have a relative motion. See, when moving the magnet away from coil while keeping the coil stationary, that is correct. When moving the coil away from the magnet, that's also correct. Keeping the magnet stationary, that's also correct, because there is always a relative motion. Question number 40, they're asking the food mile, right? Anil, Jagat, Sujit, and Namal, living in Kurnagal town, had their breakfast on a certain day, right? So we have to find, when they are given some food in the table, they are given rice and coconut had been obtained from Kurnagal area, potatoes have been obtained from Norel area, rice flour had been obtained from Polonnaruwa, fish from Negombo, dal and wheat from India and America respectively. They are asking accordingly who has taken the meal with lowest food mile. What is a food mile? Food mile means the distance over which a food item is transported during the journey from producer to consumer. Right? Let's say you have rice taken from 1 mile and dal is taken from 2 miles away. So altogether food mile will be 1 plus 2, that is 3, right? So likewise, food mile is calculated based on the distance in between the place where the food is produced and the food is consumed, right? So you can find it like this. Right, see here, I have marked the places where they have bought the food. That means where the producers are there, right? Wheat flour from USA, that is America, dal from India, right? Fish from Negombo, rice flour from Polonnaruwa, potatoes from Norelia, and rice and coconut from Kurnagal, right? So I have put 0 in the places where that doesn't have any food mile. See, these places I have put a 0. That means food mile is 0 because that's in the same hometown, because they are in Kurnagal town and rice and coconut also in Kurnagal area. So it's a food mile is 0, right? We are assuming like that. Then see here, this one has a USA and Norelia, right? So this is much more higher, right? America is in America is in very large distance, right? So here this is having USA and India. So this will be the highest. See, America and India, then nama foreign countries will be the highest. So this will be the second highest accordingly. And if you take these two, see, Polonnaruwa, India and Norelia. For these two, this dal curry is common. India will be common, right? And for Anil, Anil has only the food mile of India, right? So Anil will have the lowest, while Jagat will have the third place, right? Anil will have the fourth place. That means the lowest food mile. See, rice and coconut sambal. Coconut is obtained from Kurnagal area. So food mile is very, very less to Anil than Jagat, because Jagat is obtaining from Polonnaruwa and Norelia also. So accordingly, lowest food mile will be from Anil. Right. So if you have any questions regarding this paper, just comment below. I will let you know the answers. Thank you. Thank you for watching.